I'm sitting here in my home studio. It's a mess right now. I just finished the first piece from my home artist residency, and I thought this would be a wonderful opportunity to share with you how I'm doing my home residency in case it is something you were interested in. And so, pardon the mess, pardon the piles of cloth and everything that are all around me right now. I've got to straighten it up. Anyway, I decided to do a residency at home for a few reasons. And I'm sure there are other artists that are having some of the same issues. Um, Residencies are a wonderful way to expand your artist practice, but many of them have limited seating. You can apply to them to go in person, or you can do online residencies. There are a lot less online residencies available than there are residencies that you can travel to. And at the period I am in my life, I am not wanting to take my artist practice on the road. Maybe if I was younger. Um, but there may be a variety of reasons you aren't able to travel either. Maybe you are working and you can't take the time off. Some of the residencies go anywhere from a week to 2 weeks to months to a year. And that's a lot of time to take off from a job. It's just not simply doable for some people. Or maybe you're caregiving for someone and you can't spend that time away. I have seen multiple professional artists put their online home residency, I should say home residency, as part of their CV, and you can do it too. Doing this will also give you practice in writing proposals that you would need to write for exhibitions or for residency proposals if you want to move out of your home residency or your home studio in the future. So what are the basic parts of a residency? Well, first you need a purpose. Then you need a timeline. You need an approximate idea of how many pieces of work you're going to create. And then you need some resources for your practice. So using mine as an example, mine is going to be themed after remix. So the concept of remix in art is taking some of your previous work and remixing it or reworking it into new pieces to create new art. I'm going to have a video about this particular piece here and the actual making of the process. But what I did was to take fabric that I had custom made, and you might recall videos on my YouTube channel about how I design custom fabric based on previous artworks. I kind of manipulate photographs of my artwork and create new patterns. But I used some of that custom fabric in a collage style on this piece. So again, I'm going to be focusing on remix. There are advantages and disadvantages to having a home residency. One of the disadvantages is that it may be very solitary. It could also be an advantage depending on how you work. Some residencies do focus on solitude, but some are very group orientated and they may have group activities. Some may require that you teach a class or give a lecture. To that end, I volunteered myself at the Surface Design Association, and I will be giving 3 talks coming up in October, November, and December. They're all linked about the concept of remix. At the time of this recording, the registration was still open. I don't know when they're closing registration. The first talk is the second week of October. So I'm not sure if that registration is still open. And you do have to be a Surface Design Association member. What I am trying to do through the talk, and what we can also do here through the YouTube channel, or you could do with your own residency, is to encourage discussion about our artwork as artists, discussion about the topic, discussion about our own personal work, and just to have that interaction and feedback, and just kind of, I guess you would say, riff on the concept and expand on it, share resources, that sort of thing. And we can definitely do that on the YouTube channel as well. You are welcome to put remix into your own practice. The thing I want you to remember is that if you are putting remix into your practice, it may look very different for you than it does for me. Keeping in mind, I am coming from the perspective of a mixed media artist who uses textiles and stitching in my artwork. And if you are a sculptor or a ceramicist, if you are primarily a painter or an illustrator, your residency will look different from mine. So let's see, what did I cover? I covered the purpose. When you are writing your residency proposal, you're going to have an approximate timeline. Now, because we are writing it at home, we have a lot of leeway. Even when you do a residency in person, you have some adaptability, but of course, a home residency, you have much more adaptability. You can adapt it to your time frame. You are going to set a specific time that you are going to be working in your studio. And you can let family members know, like, I'm working right now, please let me work. So you'll set your time, you'll have an approximate idea of the number of pieces that you're going to make, and that is going to vary as you do your practice and your research. You may have to adjust things. The reason you're going to want to get used to budgeting for something like this is that if you are writing proposals for art gallery exhibitions or for residencies, they are going to sometimes want a budget. So some residencies, you have to, I can't remember if I mentioned this or not, you have to pay to go there. It's like a art retreat or some type of, event that you're going to, and you're paying to participate. Others will grant you a budget, and you have to tell them in the proposal, this is how I'm going to spend things. So for example, one of the exhibition proposals I wrote, they told me they would be giving me a budget of about $2,000 US. And I had to account for how much money I thought I was going to spend on the canvases, approximately how many canvases or pieces of work I thought I was going to have. I had to account for any tools I might think I needed. I had to account for a budget for how much paint, fabric, things like that. Everything had to be accounted for, and I had to research it and give pricing and break everything out. You can get as detailed with this as you want in your budget, but it is a good idea to have it in mind and get used to writing a budget for your proposals. The budget for mine is going to be pretty much very low. I'm trying to use the materials I have on hand. I've budgeted around $50 to $100 US for books or research materials that I think I might need. So let me switch cameras, and I am going to show you some of my research materials. They are a combination of web resources, ebooks, and physical books. So I'll be using a combination of web-based resources and physical books for my work. You can find the books and resources that work best for you and add and move them around as necessary. And I actually found a complete course online. It's a very short course, like it can be done in like an hour. So it was more based on a lecture from a course is what I should say, called Remix the Book. I'm going to link to that in the blog post, and all of that will be available there. The link to the blog post, again, will be in the comments section for this video, or in the description for the video, I should say. So anyway, one of the artists that I will be looking at is artist Shelley Rhodes. She is known for reworking and remixing materials, both her own materials and found materials. So like an example of this is here, a photograph that she has taken, and she has manipulated it and utilize different materials from paint to fabric to thread to create her pieces of art. Hers are a little more abstract than mine, but I'll be using this book from hers and another book I'll show you in a minute, because the other book I have is an ebook version of this. Some books I was able to physically find, and then others I found through ebook. This is another book. This is by Susan, is it Brandis or Brendai? It's called The Intentional Thread. So one of the things that I noticed in my work is that I tend to fall back on certain basic stitches, and while it's very relaxing for me, I want to more intentionally work with the stitches. So this part isn't so much as remix as it is more of technique. She has a lot of work here showing how hand stitch doodles, stitching, the way you texture things affects how the work reads. You can add more movement, expression to a piece, to a textile piece, using the types of stitching. So that is what this book is about. It's a guide to drawing gesture and color and stitch, and using those things to help tell the story of the piece. So I want my pieces to become more dynamic. So not only will I be reworking some of my own work and using some of the fabrics that I have made from previous works into collage, but I will be trying to work in new stitches. Or so I say. We'll see. I often, like I said, fall back into the same stitch patterns. These two books right here are helpful for me. There are a lot of very basic embroidery stitch books. And again, when I want to try a new stitch, I can just kind of look it up in here, and it has a photo guide. And then if I can't tell what I'm doing from the photo guide, I can use YouTube to look up this specific stitch and watch another person embroider it so that I can learn the stitch. These books, any book, if you're a textile artist from the Royal School of Needlework, is wonderful. This is a whole book that deals with anything from crewel work to black work, white work, silk shading, stump work, bead embroidery, canvas work, gold work. They have tons of reference books like this, which help understanding and building up your design, understanding and how to use the different stitches for texture, understanding how to make different stitches. It is just a fabulous resource. This one deals with breaking up the pattern, changing thread thickness to affect the way that the stitch appears, different things like that to just inspire me. So anything you find from the Royal School of Needlework, I highly recommend. So let me switch gears here again with the camera. I guess I will either do a screenshot or just show my screen. I've got a couple of books, ebooks that I will be utilizing. This is another book by Shelley Rhodes. This specifically deals with her concepts of fragmentation and repair. Again, you can see her work is very abstract, but I still feel like a lot of her concepts can be very useful for what I am trying to do with the concept of remix. She talks about how she fragments and deconstructs cloth, paper, objects before repairing and reassembling to make a new whole. And that goes in with the theme of remix for me. The other book I'll be using is Drawing and Painting People, A Fresh Approach by Emily Ball. I am looking and continuing to look at how I can paint and draw people in a loose way. I want loose figurative work. So I thought this would be a good addition for me. And since I am working with textiles, I will also be using Making Faces and Fabric. This is kind of like a workshop with a lot of examples of different fabric faces with Melissa Averinos, Draw, Collage, Stitch, and Show. I'll also be using a variety of web resources, and as I have those, I will add them to the page that I am going to be keeping on the blog for my website. Again, linked below in the description. I did find these resources from a site called Fiber Arts Takes Two. They do have online courses that are more specifically fiber related, but if you don't want to purchase the books, there are interviews here with Shelley, and the interview is actually, there's a link to their YouTube channel here where it has the full interview with her. That is a good resource. Even if you are not a textile artist, some of the resources that they have here are really good, and you can search through all of their interviews. That will give you kind of, depending on what you want to go with, and in your type of medium, that will give you a basis for your own research. And your research may look very different from mine, especially if you are using a different medium. They do also have exhibitions, and these exhibitions they are student exhibitions from the courses. And when you open the student exhibition book, it's a complete book you can flip through with art that you can reference. The students are talking about their experience, their reasonings behind the art. So these are a wonderful resource that you can use if you are doing the remix theme along with us for your home residency. So this is the page with Shelley's interview here. And I just opened it in YouTube. Another artist I am looking at is a fiber artist called Susan Hodgkiss. She also has a YouTube interview through the Fiber Art Take Two site. essentially what she does with her work is she manipulates fabric through paint, burning, ripping, and other methods, and then she remanipulates those pieces that she has created into new three-dimensional artworks. And the last artist I will be referencing for my work is Mitchie Pottery. Michelle Herringer, she actually crochets these pieces you see here, and she turns them into ceramics. So these are crocheted pieces that have been converted into porcelain ceramics, knit porcelain pouches. So that is her version of remix. If you find other interesting artists that are practicing remix in your particular medium, I would again love for you to share your resources with me in the comments below. So in your own artist residency, you're going to want to find at least one artist, but a few other artists, you know, like the more you find, maybe limit it to 5, the more interesting your work's going to become, and you can decide how their work and what they talk about might influence yours. So, let's see. So this course is not specific to textile. I found it when I was doing my research online. They're calling it a course, but again, it's more of, like he talks about here, about a seminar, remix culture seminar. So it continues in with the theme of remix, and this can be a good resource for any artist who wants to do the remix theme in their home residency. He has the overview. He has each of the different concepts laid out. I was able to sort of look through this over the course of about an hour or so, get a good idea for what I wanted to do. The book itself seems like it is no longer available to purchase. I'm trying to find it online. If anybody finds it, please let me know. I don't see the full course available anymore either, but the resources all seem to be here. A few of the images no longer show up and a few of the links no longer work. It does seem to be older, but this has provided a really good framework for me to consider remix. And as I work through those concepts, I will share my insights in some of the videos for the pieces that I am doing. I hope that you'll want to join in the conversation as well if you choose to do remix for your own home residency. You can comment below about your thoughts and feelings as we work through it. I'll make this a video playlist that I will have on my YouTube channel. Okay, so I have shared with you my resources. It will take me probably about anywhere from a day to a week to get the video edited for this, and I'll share with you my first project, and then I will share with you my plans for my future project. The timeline for mine, for remix, that is the purpose of my project, is going to go through December, because that is when I'm giving the last talk for the Surface Design Association. Yours may vary, and again, you're welcome to follow along and do remix with me. I am going to share a blog post on my website with a list of my resources, and that will be updated as I move through the course of my home residency. If you have resources that you find, if you were following along and doing remix with me, I hope that you will comment either on the blog post or in the video here, and let me know the resources that you have found. We can form our community here and give each other feedback and share resources that way. Trying to think if there's anything else I need to cover. I covered my budget, my purpose, my reasons. I shared my research. It's really simple. And again, you can put it on your CV when you're done doing this. And I hope you will participate, whether doing my topic of remix or a topic of your own. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.